We've come to this place where if you want to be peaceful, you need a chemical. You want to be joyful, you need a chemical. You want to be healthful, you need a chemical.
Okay, well, I can do this. Just do it! Oh my God! My stomach will never forgive me for this! Challenge complete! I win!
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic Calling Podcast. And a lot of you guys told me to react or respond to the interview that Joe Rogan had with Sadhguru. So yeah, let's take a look and let's see what he says.
See, I've been talking to people. 50 years ago, if I spoke to people and I asked how many of you want to go to heaven, almost 80% would raise their hands. Today, you go to your university and ask them how many of you want to go to heaven, they'll say, they think it's a ridiculous question, all right? Nobody will raise their hand. So in their minds, heaven has collapsed, there's no place to go. So they want to do everything here, all right? So they have not found how to be joyful and ecstatic within themselves. So chemical usage, initially it became alcohol, then it became chemicals, it's getting stronger and stronger. And so many people dying of those things every day and illnesses, and it's costing a nation and the world a lot. It's not just in one country, it's going across the world.
You know, when you're talking about people in universities that you say how many of them want to go to heaven, the problem is they don't have any evidence of heaven. And so when a lot of these young people that are atheists or agnostics, they don't want to buy into anything that they believe is connected to fairy tales, or they're connected to some sort of an ideology that they believe was manufactured to control people and to keep people in check.
That's what I said, the heaven has collapsed in their minds.
In their minds, but it's also because heaven is connected to religion, and religion is connected to atrocities. There's a lot of people that think of religion, they think of the evils of the Catholic Church, or they think of, what religion has justified, the horrors of history, the things that people have done in the name of religion. So a lot of younger, sophisticated, intelligent people don't want to believe in anything that there's no evidence.
Okay, so I'm gonna respond to Joe Rogan first, then I'm gonna talk about some of Sadhguru's nonsense. So first of all, this is absolutely false. Here he's committing the strawman argument fallacy. Basically, he is strawmanning the theistic position. So he's saying that there's no evidence, he's acting as if we theists, we say that we believe in things that we have no evidence for, right? Without any evidence, we just accept things, and which is absolutely false. If you ask any Muslim, Christian, or anybody, they'll tell you they have good evidence for the things that they believe in, right? Ask anybody, any theist out there, and they'll give countless evidence and countless examples of why their religion is true. So this is absolute nonsense. This whole idea that there's no evidence for people to believe in. Also, it doesn't matter even if you gave them evidence. I mean, I've talked to atheists, I've talked to many kind of agnostics, and I've seen many discussions with agnostics. The problem is not the evidence part. The theists have the evidence. Even if we have the evidence, in many cases they just won't accept it. Okay, it's not even a problem of logic. Okay, for example, let me just give you one evidence from the Quran itself. For example, in the Quran there is a prophecy. Now, this Quranic verse, I think it's chapter 32 to 4. In this Quranic verse, there's a prophecy that was sent down, and it was revealed at the time when there was a war going on between Rome and Persia, right? Now, I won't go too much into details, but it was a well-known war that was going on, and at that time, the Romans, they were losing. So the Romans were losing at the hands of the Persians. And to the point that they were losing pretty badly, actually. And at that time, this Quranic verse was revealed. It says the following: the Byzantines have been defeated in a nearby land. They will reverse their defeat with a victory. Within 3 to 9 years, the whole matter rests with God before and after victory. You know about this in chapter 30. verse 2 to 4. So here in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clear cut says that the Romans have been defeated, but soon enough they will start winning again. Okay. Now, this is impossible for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to predict. Okay, because you need to understand, these are two giant superpowers, and no one knows who's going to win the war. And in a situation where the Persians are clearly winning the war. Okay, so if the Prophet was clearly just simply making up the Quran, he would have no reason to make a prophecy where he could be serious, he could be wrong. And if he's wrong, then his whole prophethood is under question and people are going to execute him. So why would he risk something like that, right? So everything is going against him in this prophecy. And yet this verse was revealed. And it turned out to be true. And this prophecy became true. The Romans did indeed actually started fighting back and they started winning wars. And that's exactly what happened. So here we can clearly see a good example of the Quran making a successful foretelling what will happen in the future. And this is impossible for the Prophet ﷺ to do. Especially because there are things that there were many odds that were against the Romans. Based on this, let me make an argument, right? Premise 1. If the Quran predicted the future despite odds, then it's very likely to be the word of God. Premise 2. The Quran did predict the future despite the odds. Conclusion. Therefore, it's very likely that the Quran is the word of God. Okay? Now, another thing that I find funny regarding Joe Rogan's whole nonsense is that he tries to act as if like religion is the only thing in the world that causes warfare. And if you just get rid of religion, right, like these organized religions, then war will be completely full of bliss. There will be no more wars, right? The world will be full of bliss. If you just remove these evil religions from all the world politics, right? All of a sudden, the world is going to be full of bliss and joy. Right? There will be no more violence, and you know, all these secular liberal countries will just leave each other alone. There will be no more wars. So, like, this is just absolute nonsense fairy tale. Like, where does he get this from? This is not how world politics works. This is not how geopolitics works. I mean, just because you have a theocracy doesn't mean that theocracy is capable of more violence than a secular liberal state. Okay? For example, right now there's a war going on between Ukraine and Russia. Both of these countries are secular countries. Okay? They are not based on religion. This is not a war that's based on religion for any god. And yet they're fighting and killing each other. So how do you explain this? If this is the case, that religion is the thing that causes wars and whatever, or causes atrocities, how do you explain this? Right? So this is like the same kind of Sam Harris dumb kind of analysis of geopolitics. Like, this is so stupid. This is beyond stupid, actually. So apparently I read an article where it says that apparently in America and other European countries, when they bomb like Middle East and other countries, they apparently don't report that in the news. So they apparently don't report that. And I find it kind of interesting. But if you match those, so apparently they like do like thousands of bombings in Middle East and they report that there's been 0 casualties. How is that even possible? So one article, it says the following. Evidence of civilian suffering, including casualties resulting from use of armed forces, is not hard to come by. The Human Rights Watch annual report of 2018 cites a total death toll of 400,000 civilians, including 2,286 deaths resulting from Western airstrikes. The United Nations Iraq summary of civilians killed and injured depicts a horrendous pace of hundreds of civilians killed and injured every month. Every month. The Action on Armed Violence groups reported an increase of more than 50% in civilian deaths from explosive weapon in Syria and Iraq in 2017. Okay? So how do you justify your little anti-religious theory here, Joe? How is it that, I mean, I thought only, these evil religions are the things that causes violence. I mean, if that's the case, then what's going on here? I mean, how do you justify your little theory here? Any government, when they're in power, is capable of bloodshed, they're capable of violence. Okay, he is committing the fallacy of inconsistency. You see, Joe Rogan, he's completely fine when his Western liberal country, especially America, bombs and kills all these civilians, all these innocent people. He's fine with that. But when religious people does it, then it's wrong. Now, to answer his question, he said that religion is associated with violence. Is this true? Yes, it's true actually. Yes, it is true. Religion is sometimes associated with violence. But that's a good thing. Because violence is part of life. I mean, the way we understand religion is that it's a way of life. And violence is a part of life. So how are you going to avoid violence in a religion? You're just completely ignoring a huge aspect of your life. A huge aspect of society, civilization. That's just not possible. Especially when it comes to organized religion, because they cover all aspects of life, it becomes impossible for religion to not touch upon politics or geopolitics or conflict. It's just not possible. I mean, what do you expect religious people to do when they find themselves in a serious and critical geopolitical conflict? What do you expect them to do? And what happens if they're being attacked? Or what happens if they see a country that they have a treaty with being attacked? And what are they supposed to do in this situation? They're just supposed to put up their hands and say, religion is just my own inner peace. It's about inner peace and love and all that nonsense. Seriously? What type of religion is that? It's useless religion. You see, a true religion, if God exists and He cared for humanity, He would give us a manual for life, for everything. That includes how to behave. That includes morality. That includes politics. That includes how you behave when you're in the toilet. That includes everything. And this is exactly what Islam is. Islam is a complete guide to life. And that includes geopolitics and warfare. Okay? And that's a good thing. Because you need regulations when it comes to conflicts.
Heaven is collapsed in people's mind, which is a good thing because…
It's a good thing?
What?
It is because
Even
the
Joe Rogan
idea
is shocked.
that this is not the place to live well. There is
Right.
another place where you will live well.
Right, I
Is a
see.
wrong idea.
Right.
This is the place to live well.
You can have heaven right here.
Yes. And who told you you're not already in heaven and making a mess out of it?
These people are so stupid. Like, you can clearly see none of them have any idea about what religion even is or how it operates. This is so stupid. Like, anyone who has studied history of religion or philosophy of religion or just religion in general will just cringe at this. They'll cringe at this. I mean, this is so cringe. He's saying that, heaven have collapsed from people's head. And even Joe Rogan is surprised and he's like, that's a good thing? I mean, seriously, why would that be a good thing, right? So basically, his whole philosophy is just live your life. Don't worry about the afterlife or death or any of that. Just live your life, be happy, take your drugs, do your alcohol, be a druggie, but just do yoga and you're gonna be fine. That's not how life works, okay? I mean, sure, it may work for some people, right? But that's not gonna make their problems go away. Because if you notice what he's trying to establish here is so dumb. So basically he's trying to move this kind of check marker where he is trying to establish a kind of point where he's saying that you don't have to worry about death. Okay, that's his main point. You will notice this. These kind of cult leaders and yogis and whatever, they will say that you don't have to worry about death. You can do whatever you want, right? You don't have to worry about afterlife, right? You don't have to worry about heaven or hell, right? Make your heaven or hell here, right? That's their whole nonsense. But the problem is, this is completely unpractical because the real world will never be heaven, okay? The real world will never be heaven. It's not possible. Okay, you will always be disappointed. Okay, you can never be truly happy in a sense where you will never have any problems. That's just not gonna happen. Okay, no matter who you are, you're always going to have problems. And so this advice to give people, which is that you can make heaven here, is just complete bullshit. It's bullshit. It's just not gonna happen. You're just lying to people. I mean, what's gonna happen when their loved ones die? When you tell them this type of like nonsense myth, their whole like philosophy is gonna fall apart. What happens when they like get into a serious accident? Or what happens when they can do yoga? You're saying that yoga is going to make them better. What if they can't? What if they lose arms and limbs? What if they go have some serious disease where they cannot even get up? Like, what are they supposed to do? Like you can always have a condition where this type of like kind of like shallow kind of understanding that you're giving them is supposed to like make them better. It's not going to make them better, okay? Because you're thinking the whole thing the wrong way. You're thinking that this world is all there is, and you don't have to worry about death. That's not the case. You always have to worry about death, because that is your final destination. And you have to worry about what's going to happen after death, okay? Because as I just showed in the video, death is not the final answer, okay? And when you meet your Lord, on the day of judgment, you will know you messed up. Because the truth is that they need a metaphysical understanding of the world, an objective, grounded understanding of the world, which tells them where they came from and where they're going and what their purpose is, okay? And only religion can give them that, okay? And as a Muslim, I would say only Islam can give you that, right? Because Islam is the truth. And if something is the truth, you should follow the truth. Not some of this, whatever yoga nonsense he's like promoting. Regardless, let's continue.
So what do you say to someone, maybe they're 30 years old, and they've had this life of mistakes and regret and maybe alcoholism or gambling or some other problems, but they want to be conscious, they want to be blissful, they want to be enlightened, they want to be a happy person, filled with love. What path do they take? What steps do they take to correct the journey they're on?
Why is it, though human beings are not the strongest creatures on the planet compared to other species, why is it that human beings are dominating this world? Simply because of our ability to use tools, isn't it?
And our intellect, our ability to manipulate our environment.
Yes, but even then, if we didn't have knowledge of using tools,
right.
The buffaloes would have mowed us down, all right?
Yes.
So your intellect, they don't care. It's your ability to use tools. You made an arrow, you made a gun, you made so many things.
You made a house.
Yes. Everything, all instruments. Right now, microphone,
Yes.
or telephone, or whatever else. These are all instruments to enhance. We are this much, because of our instruments, we become that much. Right now, there is one little screw here in this furniture. I will ask you, you're a strong guy. I will ask you to unscrew this with your hands.
Can't do it.
You do it, you may lose all your nails. I'll allow you to use your teeth. Maybe you lose some of them.
It's going to be a problem.
But it'll be right there. But if I give you a screwdriver, boom,
do it easy.
in a minute, you'll get it
Yes.
out. So
Right.
this is the power of the tool.
Yes.
So as there are tools for doing things in the external world, there are tools to handle this. Because you don't have a toolkit. This machine, which is the most complex machine, is going crazy. Right now, you're reading in engineering, it's a toolkit.
Yes.
You just use the tools. Don't worry about the philosophy. Don't worry about belief system. Don't worry about your concept, somebody's concepts, your beliefs, somebody's beliefs. Just use the necessary tools. Being peaceful, joyful, loving is a natural outcome of that.
Yeah, this is like, he's like whole schmick, right? Whole schmuck. Which is that, do yoga and you're gonna be fine. Which is complete nonsense. I mean, like, this is absolute nonsense. Like, how would, like, yoga, like, save you from the hellfire? That's not, if God actually does exist, right? And I showed that why Islam is true. So, by the way, he uses this false analogy, this, like, stupid false analogy. He uses this, like, stupid false analogy where he uses the example of tools, and Joe Rogan kind of refutes him on that, says that actually it's our intellect that's the most important part. And he says that no, intellect doesn't matter. You all you need is tools. Yeah, but if you don't have the intellect, how are you supposed to use the tools? I mean, like, if you don't use your intellect, how do you know how to use your tools? Doesn't make any sense. So obviously the intellect comes first and then comes the tool. But interestingly enough, I have seen some videos where people said that his whole, like, quote unquote philosophies are actually copied from other places, right? For example, there's one video by one lady who was a student of another guru, and she accused him of plagiarizing her guru's work. Let's check out her video and I'll make a comment on it.
Namaskaram. I hereby read out my open letter to Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. I am Lavanya, a student of Acharya Bhagwan Sri Shanmukha Anantanatha. I bring to your notice and to the notice of the public that the content of your talks on the great divinities are taken from Bhagwan Shanmukha's book Divine Initiation, published in the year 2001. The first draft was written in 1986. Let us begin with your recently released video on Jan 28, 2021 on the occasion of Thaipusam. The entire content on the great divinity Skanda is taken from chapter on Skanda, pages 210 to 216 of the book Divine Initiation. Similarly, in other videos of yours that have been previously released, the content of your talks are taken from the chapter on avatars, pages 73 to 85, And the topic of Krishna, a complete incarnation of the divine, is taken from the chapter Krishna, pages 58 to 72 of the book Divine Initiation, authored by Bhagwan Sri Shanmukha Anantanath. We have identified more than 50 videos where the content of your talks has been taken from Bhagwan Shanmukha's book and lectures. Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, are you aware that your informants and scriptwriters are illegally lifting these contents from Bhagwan Shanmukha's book Divine Initiation? It is quite evident from your videos where you yourself have stated that you have never read the scriptures, that you have never read the Bhagavad Gita, that you never got down to reading the Mahabharata even though you did an entire series on it, that you avoided learning Sanskrit because it clutters your mind, and that the Vedas are like a burden on your head. This makes it very clear that you, on your own, have no authentic knowledge to speak on the great divinities. It is very evident to us, the students of Bhagwan Shanmukha Anantanath, that your informants, volunteers who write your script, are definitely lifting it from our Guru, Bhagwan Shanmukha's book and lectures, because the wisdom contained in these concepts, the etymology even across languages, are not known to most Gurus, not even to Vedic, Indic, Oriental scholars. This wisdom has been uniquely decoded from the Vedas only by Guru Acharya Bhagwan Sri Shanmukha Anantanath.
Yeah, so basically she says that a lot of like Sadhguru's content on YouTube are actually plagiarized from this book called The Divine Initiation. And if you go to Amazon, you can actually find this book. And I find this interesting. If this is true, that means that Sadhguru have never actually studied the Vedas. He just spouses this nonsense, and he basically read this. If this is true, he basically read this in a book of some other like guru, and he's just passing them off as his own. And he's just plagiarizing it. Now again, I don't know whether he actually did this or not, so I cannot really comment on it. But if this is true, then well, I mean, he's a fraud. But there's actually another video I came across, and in this video, actually, I think someone actually shared this with me. And in this video, this guy who is another student of another guru, who says that his like whole yoga practice is also plagiarized from his guru. So let's hear him out and let's see what he says.
The untold story, Guruji Rishi Prabhakar and Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. Who is Guruji Rishi Prabhakar? Guruji Rishi Prabhakar was an aeronautical engineer, computer scientist and management graduate. He was born in 1948 and he did his BE from Bangalore University. So Guruji came back to India and he started teaching transcendental meditation for a couple of years. Around 1974, 73-74, Guruji Rishi Prabhakar felt that it is not sufficient, and he went into silence for 4 to 5 years. He did further research on Advaita Vedanta, Shankaracharya, all that stuff. By 1979, he came up with a program called Brahmopadesham, and in 1881, finally, all his research work, all his discoveries, he made it into a course called Siddha Samadhi Yoga, SSY. So it started from 81-82. I think somewhere around 84 or so, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, at that time Jaggi Vasudev ji happened to go through the Siddha Samadhi Yoga course, and eventually he took a teacher training program from Guruji Sri Rishi Prabhakar. If I'm right, I think like 86 or 87, Guruji Rishi Prabhakar has trained his first batch of teachers near Mysuru, I think in the year of 1986. So you can see this image, here you can see. So this is the batch of, so 92, Sadhguru Vasudevji was started the Isha Foundation. I think that's what it says. So whatever the course contents that are offered under the Isha organization, initially it was Sajasthiti Yoga or the 13 days program. It is exactly same which was taught by Guruji Sri Rishi Prabhakar, which is Siddha Samadhi Yoga, where he kept his 6 years of research work. Many classes like the responsibility or leadership or happiness or body, all this stuff. He had done a lot of work. So what Sadhguru started doing is simply started claiming that it is all his own discoveries.
So this is just funny. So basically what he's saying, if this is true, then basically Sadhguru just learned these techniques of these like yoga techniques from another guy, this Rishi Prabhakar. And basically he took all his knowledge about like this yoga stuff, and he claimed he basically stole this and he passed it off as his own. So basically he's a thief. Like if this is true, he's a thief. He just stole other people's ideas. So he stole like these two people's ideas and I'm just passing off as his own. If this is true, then he's a fraud. He's a fraud. I don't know how else to say it. Inshallah, if you like the video, like, share, subscribe. And if you want to support me, then please consider becoming a Patreon or a member. Links in description and cards over here. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.